Hi, welcome to African Studies by Reed International Summer School. This is a short video introduction to the course that is going to be held in July between 5th to 9th this year. My name is Young-Gyu Chang. I'm Korean. I teach African Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. We call it HUBS in Seoul. HUBS specializes in teaching international area studies and provides 54 programs for foreign languages and area studies. African studies are part of HUBS program, and I've been teaching African studies over 20 years now. Before I start to illustrate the course, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more about my academic journey. I got bachelor degree in African Studies at the university I teach currently, then moved to India for my master degree in sociology, and finally went over South Africa for a PhD in anthropology. It was a long journey, took me about 12 years. The reason I'm telling you this is that it is linked to the theme of this course. My academic migration from Korea via India to South Africa due to my keen interest in the study of mobility. The mobility of people, the mobility of culture, the mobility of ideas, and etc. The concept of mobility occupies my attention, and I've researched on it since I took my position at the university. My special academic interest has been focusing on diaspora studies, both human and cultural diaspora in and out of Africa. So, this course is all about the concept of mobility related to the human and cultural interaction between Asia and Africa. The course is organized in a chronological way, ranging from the ancient to modern era. The mobility between Asia and Africa is wide and deep, and that was developed since the ancient time. It contains the migration of people, the traffic of goods, and the exchange of cultural and ideas. This mobility happened simultaneously, as the migration of people always carries with them cultural and intellectual elements. So, we'll see through the course, there have been multidimensional contact and mixture of cultural and intellectual things between the two continents. The volume of mobility between Africa and Asia is increasing enormously in this contemporary era. And in this 5-day course, we're going to read and discuss the result of this mobility between Africa and Asia, which has been brought about. Here is the outline of the course. The first day class, we're going to overview about some geopolitical and cultural features of Africa and Asia. Asia is the far largest landmass in the world, occupying about 30% of total global land area and populates 4 billion of the world's 7 billion population. Africa is the second largest continent, both in population and size. Africa populates about 1.3 billion and covers about 20% of world land mass. Therefore, if we combine two continents together, it covers about half of the global land area and about 70% of world population. That is huge. At first glance, Africa seems to be physically discrete from the other continents, barely linked by 125 kilometers long tiny isthmus of Suez. Otherwise, Africa and Asia looks like geographically separated. But when you come to observe it from the history of mobility, the picture alters completely. Historically, these two continents have interacted in diverse ways, therefore creating a new space for cultural creolization. The burgeoning of cosmopolitans and cultural creolization were earmarks of this mobility, as Swahili civilization has proven. Numerous archaeological remains, such as Indo-Pacific beads, Arabian jewelry, and Chinese porcelain, and historical documents bear witness of these connections, contributions, and complexity of Asian African continent. The Indian Ocean was a space where various interactions between Africa and Asia took place. Through the Indian Ocean, human traffic frequented, commodities traded, culture and ideas exchanged from one side to the other. In other words, the Indian Ocean did not serve as an impenetrable boundary between Africa and Asia, but play a vivid role as a conduit for two continents. Based on this mobility between Africa and Asia, I'm going to present three topics on the issue: the importance of the Indian Ocean and the Indian Ocean world system, African and Asian diaspora, and African and Asian migration. The last day of the course, I'm going to introduce Korea's cultural engagement with Africa. All this class is based on historical documentation and anthropological case studies. Now we move to day 2 class. On the second day, we're going to explore historical account of the mobility between Africa and Asia. Africa and Asia has long corresponded each other, even since they were not recorded in history. The early historical records on the mobility show that there had been active trade networks between Africa and Asia, and the remains of early settlements, both in Africa and Asia, proven this interaction. Later on, these settlements grew into the Indian Ocean civilization between 7th to 16th century as a part of the ancient world systems. In the first half of the class, I'm going to highlight the importance of the Indian Ocean as a conduit between two continents. Why Indian Ocean? The meaning of Indian Ocean on the study of mobility between Africa and Asia is important, as it has played a crucial role between two continents. Diverse civilizations and cultures interacted through the Indian Ocean. The cardinal importance might be given to the mobility among the East African coast, southern part of Arabian Peninsula, and the west coast of India's subcontinent, which includes Sri Lanka. This diasporic movement hybrided all these alien cultures and created a unique space in the Indian Ocean. The most representing one is Swahili civilization. Swahili civilization is a general term depicting the people and their culture living along the seashore of East Africa. The coast stretches from the south of Somalia to the northern part of Mozambique. The Bantu-speaking people living along the East Africa coastline had traded with outwards across the Indian Ocean since the ancient time. It was around 700 AD when Islamic Empire established in Arabian Peninsula and expanded its influence over the territory. Arab Muslim in a form of traders settled in East African coast. It was not only Arab traders, but also Indian, even Chinese traders came for trading purposes and established colonies. These outsiders brought with them their cultural elements and mixed with the Bantuan. Historical evolution caused a unique mixture of people and culture between the Bantu and outsiders, and the historical result was the birth of Swahili civilization. So, Swahili civilization was a part of the Indian Ocean civilization, and our logo terms this as one of the ancient world systems. In this lecture, we are going to read the meaning of the ancient world systems and Swahili civilization. In this class, we are going to examine the advancement of Swahili civilization as a part of the Indian Ocean world system between 7th and 16th century. In days 3 and 4 classes, we studied two types of mobility, diaspora and migration. On the day 3 class, we are going to read Indian Ocean diaspora, African and Asian diaspora established in both continents. First, African diaspora in Asia. Across the Indian Ocean, in Arabian Peninsula, Bay of Gulf, and western part of India, African diaspora had been established. They were mostly slaves, soldiers, and concubines brought from various parts of East Africa. Unlike Swahili civilization, African diaspora in Asia hardly prospered, except few cases of African diasporic kingdoms in central India. Sidi is probably the most well-known African diaspora in Asia, and in this lecture, we are going to read them. Mostly African diaspora were assimilated to the local communities or remain as a minor communities nowadays. It is not only African, but also Asian voluntarily and involuntarily moved and settled in East Africa and some Indian Ocean islands. Probably the oldest Asian diaspora in Africa is Malagasy in Madagascar. Also, Indian and Chinese diaspora in Africa is clearly observable. So, Asian diaspora in Africa. Madagascar is truly built up by diverse racial and ethnic groups. Over the past 2,000 years, the island received waves of migration from mainland Africa and other parts of Indian Ocean. They include mainly Bantu and Austronesian, minor Arabs, South Asian, Chinese, and even Europeans. The population is mainly a mixture of various degrees of Austronesian and Bantu settlers from Southeast Asia and Southeast Africa. The passage of time and intermarriage created Creole, the Malagasy people. They primarily speaking Malagasy, an Austronesian language with some Bantu influence. Asian diaspora is largely assimilated with East African population, as we have seen in the case of Swahili-speaking people. However, there are minor Asian ethnic groups in various parts of Africa. For instance, by the middle of 19th century, a good number of Indians and Chinese indentured laborers came to Africa, mainly to Southern and Eastern Africa. They were brought by British African colonies as laborers for railway construction or plantation. Decided to settle down in Africa rather than go back to their home countries after the termination of contract, they built their own ethnic identities and still remain as a minor Asian diaspora. Day 4 class is about a contemporary mobility COVID migration. According to IOL, in 2019, about 272 million people migrated worldwide, and China and India are two top countries that produce migrants. 21st century earmarked yet another important mobility between Africa and Asia. If Europe and America dominated the mobility, with Africa and majority of Africans still prefer to go to Europe searching for their loves, now many Africans turn their eyes onto Asia, economically rising continent. Unprecedented number of African migrants to Asia, in particular China, is observable. Asian migrants in Africa also increase in number today. In this class, we are going to explore whether contemporary migration of African to Asia and Asian migration to Africa. It is clear that China is the most attractive destination for African migrants, but also there are a number of other Asian countries such as India, Korea, and Japan that accommodate quite good number of African migrants. African migrants in Asia, African migrants are mostly traders, students, medical tourists, and asylum seekers. They constitute a hyper-visible entry on Asia's social landscape, and fractious exchanges and racial tensions have accompanied this migration in some part of Asia. African migrants often experience racialized hostility and other types of discrimination. For instance, Africans in China, especially in Guangzhou, are mostly small-scale individual traders and entrepreneurs, many from Nigeria, who purchase cheap consumer goods and ship them back to Africa for retail. These African migrants faced with the Great War to assimilate with local Chinese communities. Nevertheless, as Bodomo suggests, a British theory, that is to explain a migrant community is in a host country plays an important role to connect their native country and the host one by deliberately adopting or avoiding some of the host country's cultural and social elements. The number of Asian migrants in Africa is estimated at least 3 million. South Africa is the biggest host country for Asian migrants, about 16,000, followed by Nigeria. Chinese formulates the biggest Asian community and numbers about 1 million population across the continent. The estimated number of Indians in Africa is about 3 million. The favorite destination in Indian migrants is South Africa that accommodates 1.5 million. Recently, the number of Koreans and Japanese is increasing, but still Chinese and Indian migrants are two biggest African migrants in Africa. Asian migrants also face high cultural and psychological barriers to assimilate with the local communities. So in this class, we will examine the various difficulties that Africans and Asian migrants are daily experiencing and diagnose these causes The last day class is a case study of cultural interaction between Asia and Africa. I take South Korea's case. South Korea hosts a small number of African migrants, about 30,000 African settlers in Korea. They are mostly students and traders. However, in cultural perspective, Africans in Korea have played a vivid role to introducing African culture to Korea. The role of Korean civil and cultural society is crucial in this respect. A group of young Korean professional artists and social groups are working with African migrants to create cultural groups and contribute greatly to promoting African cultures in Korea. In this class, I'm going to introduce some cases of Korean civil and cultural societies, cultural engagement with Africa, which has already produced meaningful cultural activities. That would prove that civil and cultural societies would actively create the cultural space for intercultural activities between Korea and Africa. Okay, these are the overview of the course. I hope this will bring you more comprehension on the mobility between Africa and Asia. Finally, I'd like to explain about class requirements and system of evaluation. Each class is based on lecturing, watching video documentation, and class discussion. Principal readings are given before the beginning of the course, and students are advised to reach them in advance for class discussion. Class discussion accounts for up to 15% of the total evaluation. Each student needs to submit a short essay. At the end of the course, each student selects a topic related to the course and then produce an essay according to the guidelines suggested below. July 5th, choose a topic and produce annotated bibliography, 15%. There are two parts of the essay assignment. The first part requires you to produce an annotated bibliography of the reference that you use for your essay. It should consist of at least 5 references, which you note in paragraph from what the article is about, why it is a significant piece of scholarship that deserves to be in your bibliography, how it relates to your essay topic, and the point of view it takes in relation to your own ideas about the topic. You should produce no more than 2 to 3 paragraphs per reference. July 6th, short presentation about your essay topic and structure, 15%. Each student presents about essay topic and structure for about 10 minutes, then class discussion follows. July 7th, 8th, essay writing and submission, 40%. The second part of the essay assignment requires you to complete a full and proper essay between 3,000 to 3,500 words in length. The deadline is July 8th, 9 p.m. July 9th, essay presentation, 15%. Each student presents an essay and class discussion follows. Presentation time is about 10 to 15 minutes. Course participation. The course is taught primarily through class discussion of the reading and the issues that emerge from them. The students will be expected to contribute to all discussion by offering opinions, views, and experiences of the class topic. So this is all overview for the courses in July, and I hope the overview gave you enough understanding. All these guidelines will be available once you enroll the course and hope to see you in July. Thank you for your attention. If you have any inquiry, please contact me. Thank you.